Hello Munchkins, today we are doing part 2 of the art tips for beginners. So once again, I'm not a expert or something, I'm just a beginner literally trying to learn and seeing what could help. I didn't learn art by studying it. I learned it just from looking at something and redrawing.
First, put your pen down and look at your subject for a moment. Drawing is an observational skill. It's not just about the hand. Now, pick up your pen, close one eye, and trace the subject simply by sight, like this. Then, trace the subject once more, but with pen on paper. Don't look down. Instead, allow your hand to simply follow your sight, like a mirror. This is called a blind contour line drawing. While your first attempts may come out something like a scribble, the line quality here has a likeness of real life. In my next video, we'll go over how to keep this quality, but straighten out the proportions. Put your pen down and look at your subject for a moment.
Oh, come on.
How to draw.
Kevin, good tip. I feel like it's 50-50, really, in art. Being able to visualize, taking the time, the patience to understand some object and how it would like transfer on paper. And then 50% is actually doing the work and practicing. Because if you're doing like mindless practices, you will not improve really. So you really have to put your mind to it. So I'm editing the footage right now and I realized the mic cut off after like 2 minutes. So you'll get the nice lovely ambience of the city and the neighborhood dogs. Sorry about that, but amazing.
Art tips for beginners. Alright, so this tip is to just have a sketchbook where you can make as many mistakes as you want. It mainly helps with two things. First thing is line confidence. I like to use a pen because if you make a mistake, you have to own it, move on, and learn for the next drawing. It also makes you think and visualize before you put down each mark. It really helps you if you're a perfectionist because you can't do this. The second thing this helps with is repetition. You'll get forced to redraw things when you make a mistake, and then you'll have to iterate, and this will help you improve really quickly. Usually your 100th drawing will be better than your first, and this also gives you like a record of all your mistakes to look back on, which is kind of nice, I guess. It's a great way to build up your mileage after you've learned something from reference or your studies. Just remember that this is all about the process, and it doesn't have to look pretty or anything at the end. This whole sketchbook is just for you. Just for you.
I see how important it is to have a sketchbook for artists, but I don't have one. All I have ever used is paper, just some scattering of papers here and there. And probably it would have been better if I had a sketchbook, because then I can see my progress. In the beginning of the sketchbook, I have some earlier pieces. At the end, I will have something new. And it's probably very nice to have something to look back on, as well as it's just organized. Because I have so many papers all over the places. Another thing what I noticed when I started on iPad, I wasn't as good. And it was very discouraging because, come on, I can draw on paper. Why I cannot do it on iPad? And somebody just gave me the tip to buy this screen protector, and that would help. Gives you some friction like paper. And as well, they said to fixate the paper on Procreate so it doesn't rotate or twitch whenever you put your hand on it, so it kind of stays stable. This guy has some more. It was just part 1 apparently.
And today we're looking at an idea called constellations, which are key points that help us break an image down. Since you'll learn more by doing, here's another exercise. Choose a subject to draw and identify its top, bottom, and any sides or corners. Place dots on your page to estimate their spacing. They don't need to be perfect. Then start connecting the dots by drawing with your eyes up, just like last time. Only now, allow yourself to glance down once for each constellation, just to see if you're hitting the mark. If you're ever way off, try adjusting the remaining constellations instead of starting over. Calibration comes with practice, but these are the nuts and bolts, looking up to trace and looking down to check your progress.
I have actually never seen this tip, so that's very interesting. And then I remember we as kids, we used to have these drawing books where you had to connect the dots. I had no idea they are making such exercise.
Open up your sketchbook and confront a blank page. What should you put on it? Well, as part 3 of our How to Draw series, we're going to smash through any hesitation by adding a frame.
Though it seems small, a frame will enable you to make a series of helpful choices. Is this a portrait or landscape composition? What elements should be included and excluded? And how will they be arranged to tell a story? I recommend testing ideas through quick thumbnail sketches because even if a drawing has technical errors with perspective or proportion, it can still be successful if it's well thought out. So, after making a plan, mapping out your composition, and drawing a masterpiece,
This is also something I haven't heard before, and it's more likely because I'm not really doing landscapes. I guess it might help. I really have to try this out then.
Sometimes beginner artists draw slowly. They find it really nerve-wracking to put the pencil on the page, and, they're so cautious that they end up taking forever to draw simple shapes that don't look very good. Here's my pitch. Draw fast and loose. Sketching really fast and drawing really loose lines, layering up your lines over top of each other, usually ends up drawing more correct shapes. Here's an example. So drawing this, cylinder or cup doesn't really look good when I try to guess or draw really slowly. But instead, drawing the circular shape really, really loose and fast about 10, 15 times, I can aggregate the best lines, the lines that look the most correct in order to make it look, true in perspective. Doing this again on the bottom is, the best way to make my hand move in a circular motion that over time creates a line that looks all right. This is all freehand without a ruler, and it was based off drawing really quickly. You can draw slowly on top of those really light, fast, and loose lines, and that's how you can layer onto your drawing and make it more detailed and make it look more finished. I find my best drawings and best art always comes when I let myself be fast and loose on the first layer, creating really light, sketchy lines that I then refine and detail in at a further stage.
I see this is very true, but then I feel like it mixes with the chicken scratching. I also prefer art when I do the bunch of lines until I get the correct line. If I would put the final line art, it usually looks uglier than the scratched one. But I'm glad somebody is saying you should do this more. You learn how to draw in realism in 30 seconds, but only a leaf. Because if you don't practice, you don't really know where you have to put the shading, so it is somewhat common sense, but not so common if you don't know the object.
If you're one of those people who really wants to learn how to draw realistic faces, but your drawings currently look like this, listen up, because I'm about to teach you how to draw faces like a pro. So grab your phone and find an image of who you want to draw, then use super simple shapes just to plan out how big you want your portrait to be. Then use your reference image to sketch in the jawline and the shape of the hair, and use lots of fast flicks to create the hair strands and details. Then add the nose just below the middle of the face, and add 2 vertical lines from each nostril. Then draw in the eyes, making sure they don't pass those vertical lines. Then add in the lips and the little dimples at the edge of the mouth, and to make it look 3D, lightly shade the darker areas on the face, then use your finger to lightly smudge that area. And if
For one side, this is useful, but maybe not for beginners, because when you say add the dimples, if the mouth is not in the correct place, it doesn't matter that you add the dimples. Because usually the proportions are the ones that are very off.
Stop drawing the face guidelines like this. Bro, you're trying way too hard and it's way too complicated. So instead, let me...
Look, this is important. This one I need. Because so often, I know some basic techniques and I do them all the time. I try to improve. But I forget, or just even when I'm making proportions, the proportions are disproportional already, so I'm curious what he has.
Help you simplify. All you need is a simple circle. From here, split the circle down the middle. Now split it down the middle again for the top of the eye. Then add another line for the bottom of the nose. This should be roughly around the bottom of the circle. Now use super simple curved lines for the actual jawline. Then draw oval shapes for the ears in between the lines that you drew previously, and you're done. And if you want, you can add another line for the bottom of the eye. Tons of you guys have been improving from my art lessons, so click the link in my bio if you want in.
Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you have some inspiration to go and do some drawing as well. And I believe this was very useful as well. I haven't heard a few of these. And I hope to see you in the next one. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you liked. I'll really appreciate it.
So my eyes are so shiny and they feel so puffy because I slept like 4 hours tonight and I'm just a bit deprived of sleep.
Right, Twinkle? No. My John.